Episode is brought to you by elitefts.com. Are we running through our intro, or is that just?
I was, but I can't do it. It's good.
Okay.
Did we do the intro?
No, not yet. No, we're not live yet. So is it going to run through like the full?
Right now.
Oh shit! Okay, cool. Welcome everybody. This is Table Talk Podcast with me, Dave Tate, Jujimufu, and Joey Szatstrength here. This is super exciting. First off, this is the first time, Joey, you've ever been to Elite FTS.
Yes, it is.
Juji, you're a regular.
I love it here.
You live here half the time. Joey, what is it like training here? What is it like being here?
Well, honestly, it's super surreal for me to be here right now. I grew up watching Dave, on YouTube, and I'm sure we've all seen the Void video. And I remember being probably a teenager, and getting involved with strength training. So just to kind of, be getting after it for years and years to finally be here with everybody at this table, it's really cool. So I'm honored to be here, first of all. So thank you guys so much for having me. The workout made me question my life, existence, and training. But it was everything, that I honestly would want out of a workout here, where, I'm sure we can talk about it more. Juji can kind of piggyback. When we do collabs, sometimes it's, kind of setting up videos and getting through videos or banging out a ton of videos. And often at times we don't really get these awesome training sessions. So for us to come here and, you guys will watch it. I mean, we are training intense. Like I was almost throwing up. It was about a 3.5 hour session. It sucked, but yeah, I was loving every second of it. So really cool experience for me. It was the experience that I just would want to have if I did come here. I would hope to come back at some point just because I love the environment, the culture, live, learn, pass on. You guys, credence and code you guys live by is something I really try to abide by myself. So everything you guys see that you guys put out, it's legit. So it's been really cool. So thanks for having me.
We should probably note that these guys just trained. And
aggressively.
We took them through a training session, so that's why there's chalk and blood. And just everything's just a mess, so we're all gross.
Oh, absolutely. And it's about 6,000 degrees in here, too.
It's cooking. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
A little bit warm. So actually, one of the things, Joe, I wanted to bring up with you is how excited you were when I messaged you and I was like, hey, we want to get you down here. And you immediately told everybody on your social media, this is the most exciting thing ever.
Yeah.
And now you've blocked me because now you don't want to do that ever again.
Yeah, so immediately after the workout, I had blocked you because I realized that it was the best and worst decision that I've made in a long time. The video, if you guys watch it, I'm pretty quiet because, like I said, I'm holding back throw up. Pretty much the entire session. But no, I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't really get super starstruck by people or experiences. But like I said, from a young age, this is something, to me that was always something I wanted to do or accomplish. And, there's we all have different goals and we can set our goals in different categories. For me, this is like a big personal kind of victory, to get a message from you guys and, just to kind of get noticed on what I'm doing, so yeah, like I said, I'm just super excited and grateful to be here. I learned a ton just from our training session, and I always think it's important to kind of come in, leave your ego at the door, and keep your mind open. And now it's like my brain has just been going the entire time of things that I can improve on and share with you guys, which is cool that we can do that with our content.
Absolutely. And Juji, a lot of people have seen videos of you training hard, but I saw something today that I've never seen before in any of your training. I saw this animal come out when we were pushing on you on that leg press.
Yeah.
That you were an absolute gorilla.
Well, thank you.
And you were. It was
he just called you an absolute animal beast gorilla type thing.
All right, yeah, absolute animal beast gorilla type thing. Yeah, I'll take that.
Beast mode.
Yeah.
No, man, it was great. It was cool to see because people don't realize that the people that they see on YouTube and a lot of other situations are kind of putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
There was no show being put on today. You guys were literally just bringing it out.
Well, that's what me and Joey are talking about. A lot of times when you film content, it's got to be entertaining. So you're thinking about generation ADHD. Like every 10 seconds, something has to change, or a joke has to be made, or a camera has to be changing angle, or something a cut has to be made, a music has to start playing, a jiffy has to appear on the screen, just so people keep watching. And if you watch these videos that are edited in this way, what happens is people don't think you train seriously. You got to be entertaining. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a really hard workout, especially with what we just went through with Dave, it's kind of the entertaining part of this is watching us get crushed by this guy, all right? So it's a different type of entertainment. But what we're talking about is like we get those sessions when the camera's not rolling. You know, we'll push ourselves when the camera's not rolling because we're not distracted by, oh, there's a camera filming. I have to entertain someone here. You know what I mean? So we do train hard. You know, it's just we can't film that all the time. So what we're saying is it's freaking fantastic to be able to actually do both at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
get a good training session in.
I think let's talk
film.
about that a little bit more though, because people who are watching you guys, you know, you're aspirational. You know, they're looking up to you and for obvious reasons, and they want to simulate, you know, the things that they see you doing. But I think it's important that they understand that what you're putting out there, say, I think the last time we talked, you were training 8 days on, 1 day off, or something like that. And they're not seeing all 8 days. You know, they're seeing 1 day. So they're not seeing that there are very, very hard training days. The other thing they're not seeing, there's also very just monotonous getting the work done training days, which is probably most of them.
Yeah.
But if you filmed that, nobody would watch it.
Right.
You know, so it's a weird balance where you have the entertainment, and then the education. You're trying to help people get better, but they can't do what you guys just did every day. You know, that's not going to be good. But they also can't do all the fun, exciting stuff all the time either, because most of it is monotonous.
It is. It's very monotonous. It's just you can't make all the time, because if you're always trying to think, how am I going to make this monotonous training regiment entertaining, then it's going to take away from the training. You know? Sometimes you just got to space out and just get the work done. You know, you can't do it with a camera rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest takeaways from when people actually see this video is I don't think the majority of people watching the video could actually handle the sheer volume.
Oh, no.
Anything. And I don't want people to really try because they'll get hurt.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, I've always been an athlete in my own mind, and I really just try to focus on doing the best that I can do. So actually coming here for me was like a good gut check, you know, and it's kind of like I didn't care really. Obviously it's good content, but for me it was like I wanted to come in, do the best I could, you know, go through one of these workouts as a gut check for myself. And I also didn't want to disappoint you guys, you know? So it's kind of a different mindset. Normally when I have a video, like Juji said, maybe we're gonna be a little entertaining. We're kind of gonna have some fun, crack some jokes, but I came in and like, yeah, there's some guttural screams coming out from both of us, which obviously I want people to realize like we have that side that you may not see it all the time, but we wouldn't be where we're at if we didn't, or if we couldn't tap into that next level, you know, with our commitment to our training and putting in those hours and hours of monotony that we have to, you know, and there's been times where I'm sure we've made videos and then we go to the gym a couple hours later to actually hit our session. That's the stuff that people don't see.
Yeah, they don't see the fact that sometimes we'll film a workout video for YouTube, and then a couple hours later, like, okay, you want to go do a real workout now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which we've done a ton.
Oh,
like,
yeah, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Now, Joey, you came down here. For anybody that's listening or watching this that don't know who you are, you won 2019 Strongman Nationals, right? So kind of go into your background of training and whatnot just a little bit.
Yeah, long story short, grew up, if we want to go way back, I was that, you know, insecure, not confident kid. I got bullied all the time. Got sick and tired of living that life, so I started training really hard. Eventually, my goal was, I was never like the smartest kid, but my goal was always to develop a really good work ethic. So I had done that, you know, with my schoolwork, with getting involved with sports. I didn't really play sports till I was older, and that just kind of excelled me to being a good athlete overall. And then, you know, I went to play college lacrosse. I was also a big football player, and I wrestled in between. And then after that, kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had this competitive nature where I'm always trying to become better at whatever, you know, I was putting my mind to. And at the time, it was kind of funny. CrossFit was kind of at its peak. So I got involved with CrossFit, and I was competitive in CrossFit, but I was always drawn to the Olympic lifts in CrossFit. And I've always had a strength kind of background. And I always loved to just lift heavy, you know, in a sense. So, you know, I had a coach reach out to me who was kind of watching, and he just said, you know, I think you could be pretty good at this Olympic lifting thing. So I cut the CrossFit out, and I got competitive in Olympic lifting, and I ended up getting a total snatching, 350 pounds and clean and jerking 425 pounds. So in kilos, it's like a 350 sum total, which is pretty respectable in the sport. And then I ended up tearing my knee. So kind of in recovery, I was kind of just considering some things. Weightlifting was very monotonous to me in a sense. It's a kind of a lonely sport too if you don't really have a place to train with people. So honestly, it was me getting a program from a coach who was good at the sport, and I would go to the local facility and maybe meet my coach once a week or something like that. And then I was kind of searching on YouTube, and I found a guy named Brian Alzer, who I think he's been here a couple times on the podcast, and he's a common friend of ours. And he was putting out strongman content on YouTube, and it kind of just caught my eye because it was something different from Olympic lifting. I liked the way strongmen looked, right? So if you kind of, and I hate to say this, but if you look at an Olympic lifter, for how much weight they can put up, right? They don't physically have this like crazy presence physically. But if you look at a strongman, it's like these guys are freaks, and I did want to be a freak. So I got more involved with the strongman training and naturally just fell in love with it. I love that there was a strength component, a little bit of athleticism involved. And it was just something different, moving odd objects was really cool to me. So I competed in that, and then made a good run at 2019 for nationals, and then kind of the whole coronavirus thing happened. I had some other really big shows lined up, so that's kind of where my future was heading with the sport of strongman. And then I also own a gym. It's a strength sport gym outside of Philadelphia. So that and making YouTube videos is pretty much my background.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and how did you guys meet?
We were doing a collab at my house, and I think we were having Brian Elser come up, and then him and his crew, and then Joey came as well. So that's how we met.
Yeah, it was like five years ago or so.
Yeah,
4 or 5
2017.
years.
Yeah, you guys came, and then me and you kept in contact and kept bumping into each other. And shoot, this year we've been doing a lot of videos together.
Like every month.
Yeah,
and he keeps putting me through the worst videos. The
hardest.
hardest
that track
videos.
one. What was that?
the Litinov workout.
Oh, that was brutal.
Let's not talk about it.
No, let's talk about
Yeah,
that, because that's like brutal, man. So at least just lay out what it is so people know what we're talking about.
It is 1984.
Well, it's both of your channels, right?
Yeah.
It's on
his
it's on
channel,
your
yeah.
channel.
Right.
Okay,
So this
okay.
is an article that Dan John wrote for T Nation in 2006. So
Okay.
it was based on an observation they made about this guy named Sergei Litinov training. He was a USSR and Russian hammer thrower in the Olympics in the early 80s. And these Americans go over there. They're just not. They're kind of falling flat, But what's with these Eastern Europeans? What are they doing different? So apparently, what the observation was, this guy Sergei Litinov was a really good hammer thrower, and still today is like his numbers hold up pretty well. Would do a workout where he would front squat 405 pounds for 8 reps.
Holy shit.
And then drop the weight and then run 75-second 400-meter sprint. And he'd do that 3 times for the workout and go home. So it's just like, well, this is like a guy that weighs less than 200 pounds. If you look at the guy, he is mostly ass, and that's basically it. He's just an ass with a human attached is what his physique looks like. But who can do both? Who can both front squat 405 pounds for 8 reps, but also run a 75-second 400-meter sprint right afterwards? So we did a video, and you were able to do the 405 front squat, but you weren't able to make the
Yeah,
time.
couldn't make the run time.
Yeah, my calves exploded, so I couldn't do anything but whine and lay on the ground and grab my calves. And then we also had a track athlete out there as well. Matt is very good. He's training for an Ironman. He was able to run the times, but he was not able to front squat that much weight for that many reps. It's like, who can do both, man? It's crazy. But your body, when you drop that weight on a front squat and just start sprinting as fast as you can, it's saying, what the fuck is going on? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big content consumer, but that one sucked me in because wait a minute, 405 front squat, first off, and then you're gonna 3 times or whatever it was. It's like there's no way. I have to watch this to see how awful this is going to be, because this cannot physically be impossible or possible. And then you find out that it is. And actually, I think you made the front squats, right?
Yeah, the front squats I was good with. The run I was probably behind. The first round I was pretty close to making time, and then it just got worse from there. Yeah.
I mean, even if you front squatted and walked fast, for a quarter mile, and then did it again, it's like, what? 405 for that? Yeah. That was bad. I'm like, that's just death.
One of the coolest things about that workout, in my opinion, is like it's so simple. It's like these are two simple things, front squatting and sprinting, and then it's just you create this thing out of it. It's just like, what is this? This is an abomination. Where'd this come from? Well, it came from Eastern Europe.
Well, what makes it more brutal is when you first explained it, it's like, yeah, you just do this he just did it 3 times and just went home.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you front squat 405 for 10 and run 75 seconds, quarter mile, and 3 times go home. It does not sound bad.
Yeah, I think
Right? It really, it's like just 3 quick supersets of some stuff.
Right.
anyone who thinks that needs to just go do it.
Yeah. I mean, when I first heard it, I'm like, no. This is no. There's nobody that humanly did this.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he did, and that was like a normal thing. It was his normal training. Think about that for a minute.
He was under 200 pounds?
Yeah, he was 196.
It's like, is this something he did like every other day?
I don't know, man. It's just crazy.
Did you guys ever jump back into that? Give it a version 2?
No, you do it once in a lifetime, and that's all you ever do. Touch it once and let it die.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, how would you compare that with today's workout? Because you had mentioned that. You had said it was like different.
Yeah, they're both brutally awful in just their own respects.
Mm-hmm.
So today, like I said, today was a 3.5 hour workout. I haven't done a 3.5 hour workout in a long time, and we just obliterated our legs in every possible way with all the different training variables you could possibly imagine. So there's like the mental fortitude involved. There's just physically, can your body handle it?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And then we're in a hot gym. There's external circumstances. So yeah, it's tough. And obviously Juji and I, we push each other. So like I'm trying to keep up with him. He's pushing me. So there's that going on. But then Litinov, literally you watch your soul kind of just come out of your body in a very short amount of time. So yeah, they both just really sucked. Do them both and do them once and you'll question existence and why you're here.
But today, heat was a huge variable.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have gotten that done in 2 hours and 45 minutes and not had been as miserable.
Yeah.
So mitigating it,
Yeah.
and watching it was intentional, but the heat was, for you, the heat was drilling you.
Well, a lot of people too, they don't factor in, like if we're talking about RPE, right, or just in general, like when you have a hot day, that affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
It affects all the training variables, and you're going to treat that differently than you would if it was a normal day. But on the flip side, when we did the Litinov workout, that was cold as balls that day.
Yeah, it was like negative.
We weren't even expecting it. Like it was like in PA, the weather's super weird. So it was like probably 80 degrees the day before. He shows up, it goes down to like 30, and then
That's
the wind,
not good.
we were like 0 degrees.
Yeah.
We're out there with the socks on our hands and like mittens between sets, and then we stripped down. We got these like, singlets on and
Onesies.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Our warm-up sets was like 135, 225, 315, 405. We couldn't bear the cold. Just start squatting and run.
Right.
Well, the other thing too is there's no mitigation of the training variable. It's 405, and then here's the time that you have to run that quarter mile in.
Yeah.
So it's, had that been able to be mitigated, okay, let's take the weight to 315. Let's extend the time from 75 to 3 minutes.
That would be logical, but that's just not the point.
But that's a big difference when you compare that to what you guys did here today.
Yeah.
Right. So today you're training at your maximal threshold.
Right.
And a little above, but that forces you to have to go way above. Mm-hmm. Actually overreaching is what it was asking you to do.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be more brutal. I mean, that would be like taking the leg press that we did today and then figuring out how to do force reps
Right.
after. I mean, it's crazy.
But honestly, like you might learn something from a workout.
Oh yeah,
like
most definitely you do.
But I mean, my body's probably going to respond better than what we did today in terms of actually like making adaptations,
definitely.
improvement, and tissue overlay and whatever else not that's going on. You're like, my body's going to get something out of this one. But the Litinov one's like, what did I just learn there?
Mental fortitude.
Yeah.
I remember when he called me, he was just like, he's like, Joey, I got this workout. I've been saving it for a long time, and I want you to do it with me.
Did you think it was going to be that bad?
I mean, I couldn't front squat 405 for 8.
You're like, I'll just do that 3 sets of that.
Until recently, like, okay, I think I'm strong enough to do this. I should have been able to do 8, but I did like 6 or 7 on the first one and dropped it. Like, damn it! The one set that I would have been able to nail that number, But yeah, I've been saving it for a while because I couldn't get anywhere close to those numbers until this year.
Yeah.
What was interesting though, if I remember this correctly, because I was thinking because now you're reminding me of that your second set, you hit about the same number of squats, right? It was only like maybe one off.
I think I dropped the weight.
Oh, did you drop the weight?
Yeah.
Because there was something that with the squats, and I'm like, oh shit, he's not going to be able to do anything at this point because of the failure. And how do you recover? When you're running, how do you recover with that? But there was something with that where maybe you dropped it to it wasn't much, maybe a plate.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was still like
I could do 315 for 8 after that, yeah. And then the last one, we switched it just for the hell of it. So we'd run first and do the squats afterwards, and that definitely doesn't work.
Now, Dave, how often would you and John do a workout like this that you guys went through today? I mean, you had said you had worked up to it.
We worked up to it. This is the misconception. So it was every time we trained legs. So it was always something. But it took 2 years or so to be able to get there. And there were multiple challenge sets, that's what I would call them, that are in there. But you got to remember, and when people watch this, and I don't know how to actually explain this unless you're a part of it. It's being mitigated. Everything's being controlled to their personal RPE or whatever it's going to. I know exactly where that threshold is and where to bring it back. The only time we had issues with the videos that people see those training sessions is a guest would come in with John. And we weren't mitigating for them because we were training.
Right.
Well, you can't. If you're training.
And then they died.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and then they never trained with you again.
Yeah, I mean, because keep in mind, I mean, you guys know what mental zone you were in.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in that mental zone, and say I'm in that zone, and it was with John, I know what key things to watch with John, and he knows what key things to watch with me. For me, it was a breathing issue. With John, it was always a back issue. I always made sure to watch those things, but you have somebody new to come in. It's like, fuck you, dude. I got to sit here and breathe, walk around, spray my face, ice my head. You do your own, so we're not mitigating that. So they end up puking and, all these other things would happen, or having to bow out where John and I were mitigating for each other. But because we did it with each other for so long, that list of things we had to watch was super condensed. Where here, I'm watching 10 different things on these guys.
And then that's taking away from your training, too.
Well, I didn't train. You see what I'm saying? I'm not training, right? So that's the whole thing, because I don't have to train. I can figure these things out. I can see the nonverbals. I can see all these other things I normally don't see. So you never saw, John or I, losing our shit, or, well, I guess I do puke, but I puke for different, most of the time it's more emotional than it is the other physical type things. So that was close. Like I did change some things that, I don't want to say I mitigated to make it easier, because it's all about optimal training. So there's some things that I took out because of what I saw, but it's also not where we started. Like, John emails me, it's like, hey, maybe we should train together. We train together, like, ooh, this could be a good thing. I've lost some motivation at that point,
right?
In my training career. I didn't know what I was doing, what I wanted to do. And he was on this final push for a pro card. Like, I probably can train like a bodybuilder. I really don't want to, but I suppose I can if it's hard. I like hard stuff. They probably jumped in at where we were, like, in a year and a half, so what is that, 50 some training sessions? But with us, there was no, the only time there was like a deload was if he had a show, because you can't pound legs hard the week before the show, or, so there was that in there. And then there was a time period we pulled squats out for him for quite a while, for some of the things that you want to talk about, that the waist issues and some of those things, because we thought that possibly it was thickening his waist, which it turned out I don't really think it was, but it was good to pull it out because his back was starting to become an issue, and there were other things that we could do instead of that. So it's like, okay, let's pull these out, let's pull the high rep deadlifts out, let's pull out anything that might contribute to a thicker waist. I still think it's more genetic, but if it does have any impact, let's pull it, because we can find something else. And the only difference it made is the back volume for lat work had to go way up, because you took out something big. Pulls is a big thing. You can't take pulls out and replace it with 4 sets of pull downs. So that was a huge change that had to happen. And I don't know if it made any difference, or not, but I know his back health improved,
Right.
which makes the training experience better, and it makes all the other things he has to do a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things I got to see today, because we had just had this weekend, we had the Train Your Ass Off, and then we got to see this. And when someone is going through something this difficult, right, the mental battle, like we saw it with both of you guys, there was a point where it was like, oh shit, like this, I'm going in deep. There's only one way through this, and that's just to go through it. Mm-hmm. But then you see Dave on the other end of that, kind of, like he had said, kind of mitigating the damage, mitigating the fatigue with all of these different tools, the drop sets, the bands, the forced reps, which was insane. But I think that should be talked about a little bit, is how advanced someone needs to be able to monitor this safely, right? There's got to be for a coach.
I mean, any coach can break somebody.
Right, exactly.
Right, but if you're going to push somebody to a top threshold, my advice to most people is don't. Just don't, because you're going to hurt them. Unless you've been there yourself, that's key things. Unless you've been there yourself, right? So as they're getting close to that threshold and I'm watching them, I'm trying to decide, are they quitting or are they not quitting? What's going on in their head? Is this just lactic acid that's hurting like crazy and they can push through it? Or are they starting to doubt, what's going on? Because one I can push through, the other one I have to pull back. One, they want me to push them through, the doubt. The other one where if it's just about ready to give out, it doesn't matter
more of a systemic
what we
failure.
Motivationally do, it's still going to give out.
Yeah.
The only way I think you can really know that is like this meathead radar, because you've been there. You can
radar.
see like the focus is there, it's in their eyes, everything else is there. They want this so bad, but you see the tempo is just slowing, and you don't want to have that complete total fail, right? Because then that emotionally hits them for the next set too. Because now, oh shit, they hit that wall at 5. So the next time I want to get around that somehow. So you start to see that coming and say it's within a rep or two. Well, how can we get around this? Is it a force rep? Is it, okay, before that hits next time, is it ISO holds? What can I, so I don't know how to really answer this, except if you've been there enough times, you can see it in other people if you're paying attention. But just grinding somebody's dick in the dirt doesn't do anything, because fact of the matter, he still has a show, right? He's got a surgery coming up, but I mean, training's still training. They still need to recover.
Right.
Like if I make them so sore, and I want them to train hard, have a great experience, but if they're so sore they can't train again for 3 days, that sets them back 3 days. Right? It's a cool experience, it's a cool video or whatever it is, but how did that help them move forward? You see, so did I answer?
No, yeah, absolutely. But it is, it's that the experience I think is the most important part, right? Because
I think the scariest, this is kind of an aside, but the scariest parts of these workouts where it's like, the one that got me, well, the lunges sucked, okay? Like that was the most painful for me. But when I was doing the squats after 1, 2, 3, 4 exercises or something in, you've already gone through the challenge sets, and you have 5 drop sets on it. So you drop a chain, drop a chain, drop a chain, drop a chain, and now you're just doing the bar 4 reps each time, or you're doing a 20 rep set of squats. Well, most people don't even do 20 rep sets of squats to begin with, but you guys didn't spot me. I'm sitting in the back. I'm like, on that last set, I'm like, fuck, I can't fail.
No.
Like, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, I have to do this. Those are the scary ones. That was the closest I got to throwing up, because like I have to. It's kind of like sink or swim, literally. Like you have nothing to save you from collapsing. You know what I mean? Those are the really scary sets. In my opinion. On a hack squat or a leg press, it's just you hit the safety pins or whatever. But on something like that and there's nothing there, it's like, you got to get it up, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't heavy enough for you to have a problem.
Right, but it felt like it was, after everything else. It was like,
worst case, if you failed, you had the box. We would have got you up.
Well, my brain didn't know that. My brain didn't account for that, so I was like, oh, crap.
That's all right. And I guess another part or another aspect is, and you kind of brought it up, because it wasn't 100% there, is they have to be able to trust whoever's pushing them through there to know
that's a good point.
They won't get hurt, right? So I'm okay with not knowing the spot type thing, but I can't expect them to push as hard as they were pushing on all these things if they think there's a possibility I'm going to push them so hard something's going to get hurt. So there's obviously my reputation is going to play into this to some degree, because you just go to some strange dude you don't know, it's going to change things a little bit. So I can't discount that, right? That's a part of all that. But by doing things like a couple of the warm-up sets and asking them what feels better on your knees, what feels better on your joints, I'm positioning them mentally, and physically, to be able to know, okay, I'm going to be okay here. And this is a machine. It's one-dimensional. I'm going to be okay here. The risk of injury is a little lower. So there's dialogue going on too, to be, because you got to have the buy-in, you got to have the trust, because you're asking them to go somewhere they probably wouldn't do on their own. So that's a big part.
Yeah, and they had multiple sets of eyes on them, right? Looking at different aspects, as like joints and alignment, and making sure that everything, like if something looked funky to Dave, he'd slow things down, he would adjust it. If I saw something, I'd be like, Dave, look at this. And then all of a sudden things would get adjusted. And that was a big part of it, because once you guys are in that position where you can't think, like there is no thinking.
That's what you want, though. You
Absolutely.
want them in that position to where they just
it's
go.
like, let us think for you,
Yes.
and you guys just go.
But they have to have that trust, and that's what I worry about when people see some of those videos, like the ones that you were talking about of John and I, is that they just go blindly, go mad, and just go do it. It's like, dude, man, look,
It's
there's
playing
still
with
people
fire.
that are kind of watching what's going on here, even though, as I said, with some of the visitors, they weren't being watched the way that they should be. And it's all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I would do it differently, in that case. I would just not have them come out, because at that time, the whole premise behind all that training back there was John to get his pro card. That was the number one most important thing. So anything secondary to that shouldn't have even been part of the process, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think for me, you kind of hit the nail on the head with the trust thing, So one, I was blown away by how methodical the workout was, and what you may not see off camera is kind of like what Sam was saying, there was constant communication throughout the whole thing. And I was just, trusting in you guys as coaches to make sure that I was going to be okay. But at the same time, like for example, for myself, when we were doing, it was basic, it was leg extensions, Dave's like, you mentally got to turn it on, or you mentally, like you're quitting on yourself mentally. And I was like, I am, and then I cranked out 10 reps, which I almost bottomed out with like 2 or 3, but it's cool because you have the wisdom. You've been around so many athletes to see these things and know, okay, now's when to push. But then there was this, another time where, instead of doing maybe 3 chains, he's like, just do 2, and then go spray your face with a water bottle, sit in front of a fan, whatever. So it worked out perfectly in how we were managing all those variables. So it was pretty cool. It was like, you guys were the scientists, we're the guinea pigs. Yeah, going through it. But at the same time, I did have this trust that was built. Like, okay, like they're going to put me in a safe position. But at the same time, I'm going to work my ass off. And like you had said, I think in the next couple of days, I'm going to be okay. Like I can still train. It didn't mess me up to the point of, okay, this affected me in that way. So just kind of reiterating, there was so much going on during the workout with communication wise that I thought that was really cool.
All right, well, here's the thing. It's still, what we're talking about is just coaching. So let's just call it what it is. Just because there's good coaches, bad coaches, bottom line. So with you guys, because you train by yourself most of the time, I mean, people don't see it on the YouTube, but most of the time I'm pretty positive you're training by yourself. And you're training harder than most people. Otherwise, you wouldn't look like and be in the positions that you're in. How do you mitigate those styles? Because people are listening to this. It's like, that's great. I wish I could train with Dave all the time. Or that's great. And they can't.
Yeah.
So they're in the same position that most of us are in all the time. So how do you mitigate those things yourself, both of you guys?
We kind of take care of the in-between things. So
to know if you're pushing hard enough or not pushing hard enough.
I think maybe you can focus on something that you shouldn't be doing. Like, for example, looking at your phone all the time. So I didn't pick up my phone the entire workout. Do you notice that? I left it over there on that stool. There's no stories of this workout on my Instagram. Thank you guys for tagging me so I could repost something. But if I didn't focus on trying to catch as many breaths as I could before the next set and spray my face and find a fan and stay on my feet the correct amount of time, I'm always looking ahead like, this guy is going to keep throwing another thing at me. You know what I mean? The first thing I can do that I know is going to help me is to start immediately right after I get off that machine to recover. You can't be like, oh, I got to go again in a second. I got to recover real quick. No, the recovery starts the moment you get off the damn machine. Sitting on your phone and looking around or solving something else, other problems in the room. So knowing that those things are going to be there to distract you ahead of time, if you're going to actually have a good hard workout, then subtract those, and then you're left with recovery. You know what I mean? So that's how I would mitigate it if you're working out by yourself. Does it make sense?
No, that makes absolute sense, and I'm glad that you said that because you're a big social influencer, right? So basically what you're saying is the majority of your training, you're not on your phone.
Right.
Being somebody that most people would probably think you're on your phone every training session that you have. Those are probably your most unproductive training sessions. They're your content training sessions.
Right.
The most productive ones are the ones where you're not doing that.
Right.
You know, would you say the same for yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of funny to piggyback with that. I hate my phone. Like, if I did not need to be on my phone or use my phone, like we talk about this all the time, I would not. Like, I'm the kind of guy who would love to just like be in the woods by himself. And, you know, this is the nature of the beast, and I understand that, so I built something that I rely on. And if you guys follow me on social media, I am out in the woods a lot, and I schedule a lot of just solitude time to myself. The other thing that has really helped me, and I think I kind of picked this up from John, actually, in training with him, is when I record anything, when I train, it's on my tripod, and I record it, but I don't post any of that stuff until hours later. So it gives me time to just, okay, I set it up, boom, I hit record, I do my set. So whenever people see it, that's not when it happened. You know what I mean? So this is like hours later, and that's really helped me with training instead of thinking, I need to record this or I need to put it on right away. And I just use my phone camera, and then I can upload it whenever. And the people don't really know any different, but for me, it lets me focus on my training way more.
And not only that, but if you're recording something and then you, in between your sets, you're like reviewing the footage, you're like, oh shit, maybe I should do a different angle. Maybe, and then you start thinking about things outside of that training.
Yeah.
I don't even look at it. Yeah, I don't even look at it. You know, the reviewing then is like, if you're going to be recording things for stories or something, you hit record. When you're done, you turn it off. I don't even look at that footage. But sometimes it's not all. This isn't the absolute devil here. Like, if I'm filming a top set of squats, and like I'm thinking I might be able to post this on Instagram as a feed post, or this is like I got 700 something pounds on my back, and you go for 3, you're like, shit, maybe I could do 5. You know what I mean? That thing's pushing you. Like, I want to show them how strong I really am. You know? But if you film everything all the time and you're on your phone looking at anything else, it's going to screw up your recovery in between all the other stuff that we were doing today. You know what I mean? So sometimes, like, you know, it's motivating. It's like, I want the best clip possible. I want the best top set. I want to squat this weight so I can improve. But the rest of the time, you know, just...
I think this is probably, for those that are listening, the most important bit of information and training advice, and even social media advice that you guys have ever given without even knowing it.
No?
Yes, because how many people, you know, are filming everything, you know, and how distracting is it becoming to their training without them knowing it's becoming distracting to their training, you know, to where you're both successful influencers on social media. And you're sitting here saying, yes, this is... See, I'm an old head. I can say, just fuck it, leave your phone in the car and train hard. That's not reality. I get that. I understand that. That is not reality. Nobody's going to, well, some will, but very few people are going to do that. But then they go too far, and then it impacts their training, right? Where there's a balance there. Now, you're going to fall on a different end of the balance because it's how you guys earn a living and so forth, but it's still not destructive to your training.
Right.
That's the point that I think is getting missed is, you know, I will hear people say things, and they could be right, they could be wrong. I'm just saying what I'm hearing. I have to film every set because I have to critique the technical aspect of every set that I do. I'm like, okay, really? You know, I have to, you know, and I get it if you're doing a story once a week or whatever it's going to be, different type of context. But that's where I think some of my generation, the old heads, are going to sit there and say that's why they suck, because they're filming everything. Well, there's obviously a strategy. You know, I'm not asking you to share your social media strategies, but there's a strategy. But there still has to be this balance that the training is the most important thing, because if you look like shit, then nobody's going to follow you anyhow.
Absolutely,
Right? I mean, there's some factor. Now, great, you can look great, nobody's going to follow you because you have no person. There's a lot of other factors, you know, the personality and all the other stuff. But I do think a lot of people can do very well by going back and listening to what you guys just said.
Something that recently I had done is I have a camera person now for my training sessions, which I'm in a position to do that. But it was driving me crazy. trying to set up the camera, hit record, and then have to go squat 500 some pounds. Like, there's just too many variables. And like I said, I'm in a position where I can do that, and this is a big part of my life. But just having someone be there so I can just train.
But see, that's not going to be every training session you do either.
No. But it just has helped a lot because, like you had said, my focus now, I can put more focus on the training. And before, with all those variables, it's like, this is just exhausting, and it's taking away from me actually being able to do the things that I personally just love and enjoy. You know, so there is that, like, the balance, and then you have to figure that out for what works best for you. But, yeah, at the same time, you know, you guys have to be aware of, you know, how much is that affecting your training? How much does that really need to be put on Instagram? It's probably not as much as you think.
Right.
You know, so.
No one wants to see every set you do. They probably don't even want to see half the exercises you do.
Or
want to see a couple reps of a top set, maybe one accessory exercise.
Yeah.
Like, that takes very little effort if you're efficient. You know, it's almost like a martial art. You know, you got to be, you know, it's almost like a Zen type thing. You get really good at it where it doesn't interfere, but still you have to know, like, how much is actually necessary here. You know what I mean? You don't film everything you're doing.
Yeah, and not only that, most people who say, "Oh, I'm filming all my sets for technique," they never look at the video again.
I've never heard someone say that. I don't want to ever hear them say that.
No, absolutely
that's
not.
Ridiculous.
Because most of the time you record something, you're like, "Yeah, I'll look at this later."
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have sent me videos, you know, and I think they get bummed out by, like, me not critiquing them as much because I'm like, it looks pretty good, you know, but in their mind, they've created this is like the worst squat or deadlift ever. And I'm just like, well, how long have you been doing it? You know, I just started. Well, you know, maybe just more reps. Like, you know, it's going to help. But it's just funny how people can go on and on about how bad it is. And you look at it and you're like, that's pretty good. And they get disappointed with that. You know, it's like.
Just let them know. No, that does suck.
Yeah. So let's flip the script real quick because I heard you say something earlier that interests me. Obviously, your gym's done, right? It's completed because you said you lived in it for 7 days.
Yeah.
Right. So like you did not leave.
I did not leave the room. No.
So there's a bathroom in there.
There's a bathroom, a kitchen. Okay, there's a back patio. I had a little spigot with a little shower thing set up, so I can go out there and rinse off real quick. But other than that, I couldn't leave the room.
Was it awesome?
It was the best thing ever.
I would love that, man. If this had air conditioning, I'd fucking never.
It was good. There's something about being able to get into a training session. It was just so much easier because you're surrounded by gym equipment all the time.
So how did you decide when you were going to train, though? That's like weird because you have nothing else scheduled.
Yeah, it was always the same time. It was always the same time.
Okay.
I always start training between 11:30 and 12.
Yeah.
Typically, and I'll train until about 3-ish or
Okay.
so, and then that's it. But yeah, I train the same time every day, and then that's.
What about your pets? Like you didn't see your pets?
My wife Sam took care of the pets.
Okay.
In the house that was like 100 feet from the gym.
Okay.
The backyard.
Okay.
Which one of them's right here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's Sputnik. That's my cat.
The shrine.
I didn't see my house cat.
So you
Sputnik
don't have a gym pet?
I have a gym cat would visit every now and again, but he's still getting used to the gym.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still kind of getting used to the new gym. He liked the barn; it was dirtier and grimier.
Yeah.
And,
So there's a cat box and the food and the water and all that.
yeah, there's all the stuff for him
That's
in there.
awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
So you slept?
I slept upstairs. Yeah, we're right next to the treadmill.
Well, I've seen the videos. I mean, it's not like he's like sleeping on a bench. I mean, he's got like a little like a cot, I assume, up there, right?
It was a good bed. Yeah, I got a little mattress up there. Okay. Yeah, everything is good. The kitchen it was awesome. So I don't know, Dave. It's something for you to try.
It's too hot in here.
No. This sounds like a video I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, this is too hot.
We'll wait until like November.
Now,
or something.
if I could include the office space,
yeah,
I could do that. But then I'd be at work all the time.
Yeah.
Like so, there's like it's a weird thing.
I don't know.
But actually, you were at work all the time. Because this is kind of what you do.
I put a computer there right next to the reverse hyper.
You should have put it on it.
You got a table
Standing
in the middle
desk.
of this room here. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to stand
because all you do is like film some videos on your phone, and that's all you really do, right?
Yeah, it's such low effort. Right?
Well, film for the YouTube video. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back to the last podcast.
I got you. Yeah. All I do is work out, and I get paid for it. Right? Yeah. No, it was great. I would definitely recommend you trying it because you have everything you need to do it here. And the thing is, if you got a work issue, it's like you just walk back there and do it real quick. You know what I mean? Since you're surrounded by gym equipment all the time, it's like it's not hard to start working out. You don't have to gather your stuff, like you get your gym bag and blah 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 and all this stuff and where's this and that. You know what I mean? It's just like it's just there. It's just okay. You just start. You've been living in this room for a week.
Well, I don't want to go back. You're married, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just leave it with that.
It's a private gym.
Yeah, we'll change the conversation.
Yeah.
Joey, you completely tore your bicep at Juji's gym, right? Is that how that goes?
Why are we talking about it?
Yeah.
No,
It's the first injury. I'm sorry, Joey.
it's okay. But I was the first guy to sleep in his gym before him.
Uh-oh.
I slept
Yeah,
up
you slept and stayed in the gym
on the crash mat.
on the crash mat. Or before I got a mattress, for real. Before I decided I was going to live in the gym for a week. Yeah, you're the first person to actually sleep in the room, you bastard.
Yeah, got him on the
That's
mat.
probably not a bad thing though, because now that you have the mattress in there, Airbnb or a hotel,
Gym B&B.
or the gym. I mean, it's
Yeah.
air conditioned, right?
Uh-huh. I know.
That might be a business right there, Gym B&B.
I'm there
As long as they get out of there before you train and they clean
And they
up.
put their weights away? You're right.
No, they can't train. They can just stay there.
So how did it? I mean, obviously you're going to get surgery on it.
Yes, right when I return from this trip, I have surgery scheduled.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, we were just making content and
Aggressively.
aggressively. There were some big personalities in the room, and we decided to do some heavy preacher curls and
Max out on it.
Yeah.
Dave's laughing over
Like spitting my shit out, because whoever would think about maxing out on a preacher.
Yeah.
me.
I see two people.
It's my idea. I'm sorry, Joey.
I hate to say it, but when you watch the video, it's so cringy because the amount of times we've said the term bicep tear, and like it was
So much
literally like we
foreshadowing.
foreshadowed this whole thing, and I have this look on my face like,
Affirmations.
but I don't even see it coming. You know, like the last thing on my mind was that.
Should use bands and chains.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I should have just went for the other one at that point.
So
yeah.
you actually filmed the actual pop?
It's-
you know,
Oh
the-
yeah,
it's pretty gnarly.
It's on my my Instagram, the YouTube channel. But yeah,
It's everywhere.
yeah.
Did it at least go even
Listen,
a little bit viral?
It's been helping me out. Like, it's great. You know, I'm very optimistic about it. And I think people think like it's for show. Like, no, like I'm loving it, you know, for that reason and just content and, you know, like the cool thing is I built my identity much more than just a strongman. So it's like I wasn't so reliant on the fact of like I couldn't compete, like my life is over, which you see that happen with athletes,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one injury and then they never come back. But for me, it's like I also like challenge. So I think it's cool that I can have this as a challenge and work through it, show people. Right? Like it's kind of going to be like a little series of how I got, you know, a bicep tear, how I'm recovering, and then people, you know, can watch that and hopefully it helps them. But yeah, so yeah, I went for a second rep, which I'm pretty sure everything leading up to that was PRs on a preacher curl. So I was really stoked about that. And I knew for sure I would have been able to get more, but yeah, on the second rep, it just went pop, pop, pop. And I thought it was a partial tear because of how much I was able to do. And I was talking to you guys about that. Like in my mind, I had just assumed, you know, bicep tear, it's very not functional. But I was training for a couple of weeks because dealing with my insurance and the hospital system, I had to go through a big hospital and they were backed up so long with MRIs. You know, I was just like, okay, well, I can obviously not do anything, which we know is probably the worst thing to do. So I just kept training, and anything that hurt, obviously, I mitigated or didn't do. And then when I went in for my eval and they looked at everything, he's like, you need surgery ASAP. You have a full bicep tear. And I was shocked. Like, that is not what I thought he was going to say. But, you know, I got surgery, so that's where we're at right now.
And one of the questions that Dave had when we were talking about this in the meeting on Tuesday was, is it a partial tear or a full tear? And I thought it was a partial because I saw the video, and I thought it was not a full tear. He goes, well, if he tears it here, at least it'll be better for surgery. It'll give them a cleaner break, right?
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, I don't know why they would repair a partial tear.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little confused with
And
that.
and it sounds kind of messed up, but like my thought was, if anything happens here, like I said, I'm gonna go get it fixed. So it's kind of like, at this point, whatever,
Right.
you know. And I was also training with it too. Like, I'm pretty sure it was a full tear when it had happened, you know. But I was still training, so I don't know like if there was any part that was maybe still attached. But at the same time, it's like, what am I gonna do? You know, like I need to work around this. So yeah.
Now, Dave, you tore your biceps before?
Mm-mm.
No, never.
Torn everything else, I
No,
guess.
they were never big enough to tear. But I mean, that was something I was conscious of because I knew it's popular. I mean, it's a common injury in powerlifting. So I mitigated it by making sure I always had the range of motion for that, you know, and using overhand deadlifts as much as I could and only using underhand when I had to. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's certain things that you just mitigate as you go through that. But I never had the bicep tear. And knowing me, knowing my personality, and do not change anything that you'd stay the structure you are. I never would have fixed it had I. Because everybody that I knew I was training with and everybody I knew back then that tore theirs, it's just like, fuck it. 2 weeks later, you're right back. It didn't inhibit anybody's power lifts. Actually, fixing it took you out longer because the surgery, the recovery from the surgery, and the biceps basically just, aesthetic anyhow. So, and that was the thought process back then. I would not advise that.
Yeah, we just did not
now,
share
but I
medical
can
advice.
say, had I ever, there's no way I would have fixed it. I mean, I tore this pec and never had it fixed. It's just, no. Unless the tendon pops out, I wouldn't have fixed it.
Yeah. Now, how long of a recovery time are we looking at here for a
Listen,
bicep tear?
I'm not even going to get into that because it's just going to recover as fast as it will.
There you go.
I'm not even going to put a time frame on it.
Yep.
I was talking earlier, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of the orthopedics out there just because they can nocebo affect you by putting a number in your head or telling you what it looks like and using crazy description words. So I just went in, I want it fixed, and when it's healed, and when I get back, I'm going to get back. I'm hoping to be on the shorter end of that, and I've talked to some people, and roughly, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, people are back in the gym, at least, curling some fives or something like that, and I'm fine with that, rather than the other end of the spectrum, which I've heard months and months, and it's never been the same, but I'm not even going to put my mind on that.
For conversation's sake, there are, and if you go down the rabbit hole, there are ways to expedite the recovery process. There's a lot of ways, I can give you tons of ways, but for what? Right, that's the second part of the question. Nobody ever wants to think about. Like, okay, so if it's going to take there's a certain period of time it's just going to take because anesthesia's got to come out of your system. There's all those. Everybody's a little different on that. So let's say it's going to automatically take 4 weeks or 3 weeks before you're out of the sling. I don't know what they do anymore. If you can expedite it and get and recover 10% sooner, 20% sooner, what is that really at the end of the time frame? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
What is it? Because to think that you can expedite the injury 100% faster is false. Okay. Everybody would understand that's false. To reduce it and make it so it's 50% faster, most people are going to say there's no way you're going to make it 50% faster. So what percentage are we talking about? So okay, so how much could it be taken down because it's a risk benefit? Then for what? So let's say you had a strongman competition in December. That was the most important thing in your life. You've been training for this. This is a must-have. Most definitely it could be done. 100%. But you don't. So you see what I'm saying? So then for what? Right? Where people get weird about things like that is, well, I need to get ready for this local thing going on in 8 weeks. Well, there's another local thing going on in 16 weeks. You see what I'm saying? So there are times that I can see where somebody would want to try to knock it down, recover faster, but I can never get anybody to give me a solid why or a solid reason. You get what I'm saying? Like I understand why Dorian at one point in time wanted to get on the Olympia stage with, I believe it was a torn, Cutler was a torn bicep. Dorian was I understand why he wanted to try to rush it to be able to do that. And that makes sense to me.
Right.
I understand the mitigation measures that he probably did to be able to rush it sooner.
Right.
But what if he wasn't qualified for the Olympia and the next show would have been, he wouldn't have done that same thing.
Right.
So you gotta you see what I'm saying?
Definitely, for sure.
So your thought process of when it's ready is perfect.
Yeah.
That's what you want it to be.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't make you lazy.
No.
Because that's the other part. If you wait too long, then it's going to become a bigger issue.
Yeah, I just meant to clarify. I don't want to have someone put something in my head which creates a ceiling for me.
Oh, they will.
You know what I mean? Which is what they'll do. So I try not to listen to that.
So you don't have a celebrity boxing match coming up?
No, I don't. Although they've been trying to recruit me, and no celebrity boxing.
See, that was kind of a weird thing because I only know surface level on that.
Yeah.
See, I would say that would be something that, you could probably get it done and recover in time to be able to. But the fact that they were able to move it, that's a smart thing. You'd be stupid to not take advantage of the extra time.
Right.
But let's say that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
That this is it. This is what it's going to be, and with the money involved, you got to find a way. You have to find a way to make it happen. I'm sure there's a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
But if there's that alternative, definitely.
Yeah, why? I like
definitely,
that.
definitely take the alternative.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned that you were training during this process, right? During having a torn bicep. How important was it for you to just obviously mitigate the pain, but you must have varied a lot of what you were doing to kind of work around that issue.
Yeah,
right?
in the beginning, I was just trying to feel everything out.
Yep.
So I did a lot of one-arm stuff and then gradually just kind of tested the waters little by little. Obviously curling was something that bothered it, so I just stayed away from curls. But there were a lot of other things that I could do. Juji was giving me he was very upset I was doing lat pull-downs, but they were okay, and it was like, obviously I'm not going as heavy as I was. And for me, the thing that was causing pain was full extension and locking out of the elbow. So I did everything with a slight elbow bend, and it actually was kind of cool because I'm learning through this, and I was getting a lot of back and lat activation with having that slight bend in the elbow. Now, whether that's, right or wrong, it was just working really well for me. And it was then not allowing me to use my arms at all, right, for the movement. So something I learned going forward, if I am a coach or I'm working with somebody, is, if I see them using their arms too much and they're really trying to focus on using their back, is, hey, try this. This is what I tried, and I really felt this, hit my back more, and I took out the arm out of the equation a little bit, etc. So for me, it's been just a cool, little science experiment. But yeah, there was just a lot of variation going on, but now I kind of have it down. Obviously, I'm getting the surgery, so that's really going to change things up, and I'm going to definitely be more, that arm will be out of play for the most part, besides some basic, I thought about just getting like a broomstick or something like that, but it is what it is, but I'm using this as a process to learn and grow.
I think I read in one of your books about a story about Chuck hobbling into the gym to the lat pull-down machine, and you guys are watching him, and he's just tripping all over the place. What the hell is he doing?
No,
and he just goes bananas on the lat pull-down because he, strained a hamstring or something?
I can't remember what it was now, but Louie and I were down by the reverse. I have a small gym, and he come hobbling in, and I mean, it was like, you got to hold on to this machine to get to this machine to get to this machine, and hobbled his way to the lat machine. We're just looking at each other like, what the hell, and proceeded to do 27. I mean, it was just ridiculous how many sets.
He just lived on it.
Yeah, I mean, he never said anything. It just kept going about this is just normal. It's just, and this is just who he is. It's just this is what he's going to do. But I think it had to be a hamstring. It had to be something like that, because it was hobbling. Yeah. But he's the same way where, say that might have been Tuesday, I'm sure he squatted Friday. So it's just, that's what I'm saying. There's ways to mitigate and to force these type of things. They're not always the smartest thing.
Yeah.
There are ways to kind of do that, and sometimes it's just a matter of saying screw it and just pushing through it. Yeah. But for what? Right? So George Halbert once, with one of my pecs, I had a lot of reoccurring strains after the surgery, and I think it was more just scar tissue being reattached. Yeah. And I found all these creative ways to keep doing this and keep coming back faster. And he's like, what's the point here? It's like your meet's like 10 weeks out. So if you took like 3 weeks off now, you still got plenty of time. Yeah. Like, it's only 10 weeks out. Like, what difference is it going to be if 1 week you take off of benching, or 3 when you're this far out? How much? And it just made sense. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense now. Yeah. Now, if I was 3 weeks out, probably a different, story of it. But it's like, I never really thought about it that way, that we're really talking about not that big of a percentage for the risk that's associated with the whole thing.
I think the other thing, too, with this whole thing, and it's like after the injury had happened, Juji and I, within 24 hours, were training the next day. And I think when we have our following, we have an obligation to help. I mean,
we weren't doing preacher curls.
No. We weren't doing preacher curls, but we were training, right? And I think, like I said earlier, there's so many people who will then, they'll cave or they'll get destroyed by this. And when you have a following, this is my personal belief. It's my obligation to help inform and get the message out to as many people as possible. So I'm just trying to lead by example by showing people, like, don't let this cripple you, okay? This is just an obstacle. The best thing we can do is move, right? Yeah, I'm obviously not going to be an idiot and go train my bicep, but I got 2 legs and I got another arm. So let's get after it. And it's like, if you look at the guy who doesn't do anything versus the person who's still training, which one do you think is probably going to put themselves in a better position long term if they're doing everything correctly? Probably that guy. But now we have an audience where people can start to get this message and hopefully see that and start doing that, right? Like, I feel like that's why else are we putting information out there, right? Like, we're not the kind of guys who are out there to just, money's not our sole driver, right? We have a purpose in why we're doing what we're doing. So for me, it was like, I'm going to show people, like, let's get after it. You know, hey, this is just another day. If you're a strength sport athlete, unfortunately, at some point, your time's probably going to come with some sort of injury. How severe, I don't know. But are you going to cave to it, or are you going to adapt and grow?
Well, it's really anything. Like I could sit there and say that's just adversity, and adversity should never set you completely off.
Yep.
Right? Because if it sets you completely off, then it wins and you're set back. So to dial it back to injuries, the worst injuries, are the ones that you're stuck in bed.
Like
right?
a back injury?
Well, you can still move with a back injury and kind of do some stuff, but say it's a hip replacement surgery, or even say, back surgery, and you're stuck in bed. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do when you're stuck in bed, right? You can read, you can, but you're stuck in bed.
You can drive yourself crazy.
Right, you drive yourself crazy, and that's where things can spiral backwards, because all of us have developed so many good habits. We all got bad habits, but we've all developed a lot of these good habits. One little obstacle, bump in the road, bicep tear injury shouldn't dismantle more than just one habit, might be your curls. When you let it start to dismantle more habits than that, then it's a problem. It's a big problem. So by keeping moving on all those other things, yes, you have a following and all, but you're doing it for yourself, which is helping as well, because you have a heart attack or have something that's going to put you in bed, right? Now it's like, oh shit, what are you going to do now? Where the first thing you want to do is, I just need to get up, and then move and walk and start reestablishing all these other habits. Because if you think about what you do on a daily basis, there's lots of things that you do on a daily basis. You got to keep doing those things, because as soon as one of them gets clicked away, it won't be too long, and you don't restore it. We see this with people that we all know. And then later on, the next one gets clicked away. And then later on, the next one gets clicked away. Right? And then the depression starts to set in. And then when that sets in, there goes 3 more. And then 6 months go by, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So you got to keep control of everything you can keep control of, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. And another kind of point to bring up about it is, I don't think you could have torn your bicep in a better position, because as horrible as that sounds, you had training partners. You had that kind of support structure, right? Dave, same thing for you. All of your injuries, you've had training partners to kind of help.
It's still depressing.
It
doesn't matter
absolutely.
how it works.
100%. But
I mean, he can be positive, but he's still going home.
He's still grabbing his arm, going like, this stings right now.
But having that injury, if you didn't have any sort of training partners or support structure in there, it would have
been a lot cooler if it was a deadlift, but
I would have hated it more if it was a deadlift.
Really?
Because I get tired of people just knocking the mixed lift. The mixed grip deadlift is just, in the past 5 years, has become super phobic online. I never heard about anyone warning me about that mixed grip deadlift, in 2015, 16, then in 17, 18, 19, it just started creeping up. And now every time I do that lift, everyone's like freaking out. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if it happened on that, it would have been too much for me. I wouldn't have been able
everyone's
to handle
telling
it.
me.
Oh, no.
Everyone online is, just completely confirmed that I'm
online
the biggest
doctors,
idiot in the world.
Right? Yeah.
Preacher curls are the devil. And I really, honestly, talking to you guys, like, I do not think that was real. I think there were other variables at play on why it happened, but the internet does not care.
No.
It doesn't. It's so not relevant, right? Because it happened. You still got to move forward from it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that people, because you have a really good mindset about it, but it's probably important that people do know that you think it sucks. It was terrible.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're like this.
I'm a normal human being.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, and because I think people get little misguided sometimes because you still went home.
Listen,
like,
I have tons of bad days. I am not doing two pro shows that I was going to train my ass off for, that I've been cutting weight for 5 months to get down to the lowest weight for, you know what I mean? So, but it's like, okay, that sucks. We got to move on.
Yeah, because it's not going to change.
Right.
There's nothing I can do.
Reality.
There's nothing I can do.
You can't just untear it.
Yeah. I wish. No.
Like, it sucks if it's like, okay, here it is. Let's deal with it.
Exactly.
And move forward.
Yeah,
So.
in what basically what I was saying is that having that mindset, having that support structure, having all those things does help you. And yeah, it still sucks though. Like it's still
but
But
nobody wants a
helps,
bicep
though.
tear, guys. Let's put it out.
No. Hell no.
Do you want to get injured today? Probably not, right? Like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
It could be a whole series of videos though. Just
that would be good.
like,
Just pick one body
think
part
of the
every
next
time.
one. Like the bicep did well, subscribers grow, views went up. It's like, okay, now wait a minute.
So bicep 2 muscles, tricep 3.
No,
more
you
growth.
got to look what's trending, man.
Oh,
What's
you're right,
moving?
you're right, you're
Knees.
right.
Knees.
are
We need to
good.
take out the ACL.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best thing?
Knees over toes is a big thing.
How'd
Let's
you
go.
go-
Yeah, there you go.
As you go to the channel, I just started tearing all the muscles.
Let's go
in
the
my
other way.
body.
Let's go knee over ankle. Let's go
Yes.
like ostrich legs.
Yep. Take it way back. Pop that bitch out. We
Oh,
fix
yeah.
this first.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Milk it. So get a good 6 months, and then boom, take the next one.
Dude, my subscribers went up like crazy. So,
I got like 10K subs on that bicep tear.
Dude,
What happens
yeah.
if I tear a calf or
Did they really?
it's tempting.
Pec tears are the most.
I'm almost at 100K because of like the last couple of videos, but the biggest one was the bicep tear like recently. So, it's tempting, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Dave, I'm not going to tear anything for the channel.
Okay. No, I'm just
How
thinking
bad do you
for
want
him.
this job?
I'm thinking for him, like, is there a strategic way to do the pec without, bashing your brains in? Take care of this
I'm
one
sure
first.
We
We'll
could talk
talk.
off podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll bring back the neck press. Remember that old school bodybuilding press?
oh
Oh my
god.
gosh,
This-
tearing a neck.
Yeah, we won't even talk about
you
it.
still see those? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you say, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I have
it's
no.
like-
The neck press? What the hell is this?
Elbows out, bench press. You bring the bar down to your neck.
Okay,
Great for your pecs, right?
Holy shit.
That's how like the
That'll do
one
it.
person who dies a year bench pressing, it's that guy.
There's probably tons of pictures. It may be in Arnold's encyclopedia, if I'm not mistaken. Him doing it with his feet up on the bench, tucked in neck press.
In the neck, yeah.
If not, it was
I've seen those pictures.
Vince. I can't say his name.
Gironda?
Gironda.
Yeah.
Definitely is one of his big ones.
That's got to be the worst exercise.
It's not good. I remember trying it once and being like, "Oh, this don't feel good.
This ain't good.
This is not a good idea."
This ain't good. Now, Dave, question for you. Talking about exercise selection, what was the most fucked up exercise you did at Westside for a max effort? I was thinking about this the other day. There has to have been something that you did. You're like, hey guys, this probably isn't a good idea.
We were pretty good. I mean, we were pretty good about all of it. So, I mean, they're all thought out. We weren't going to do anything that was actually a bad idea. What I will, I'll go with this story because it's a little bit different. A lot of people know what the good morning squat is, right? So you do the good morning, then you squat, come back out for the bottom. And Joe, who actually comes out here to train, I was training with him, and it was in the night crew, and we were doing good mornings. We used to do max effort good mornings, and we used to do singles max effort good mornings, which we learned later is probably not the best idea, but nobody got hurt doing them. It's just what we found is the carryover wasn't there, and I don't know if it because of the time under tension, because it's a short movement, wasn't long enough to carry over to the main lifts, but triples work better. So we're working up doing good mornings, and we start jabbering back and forth about who's going to win, who's going to beat who, and just the same bullshit I still do with them now 30 years later.
It's my absolute
all
favorite part of
crippled.
training here.
Right, and there are no rules. Let's just max effort, just move the weight. Well, at some point in time, he goes down, squats, it comes back up. I'm like, motherfucker, you can't do that. That's not right. This is a good. And he's like, it's max effort, man. Whoever moves the most weight wins. And I'm like, motherfucker, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I bend over, squat down, come back up. Louis like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I'm like, it don't matter. It's whoever lifts the most weight wins. So we just keep working up like this. And then that was Monday. So come Wednesday, we come in, we're just trashed. I mean, I'm sore from my lower glute, actually from my hamstrings all the way up to my upper back.
Wow.
And he's the same way. And we're like, Louis, this might be something that's a good exercise. Like, we might want to do this some more because this is, and it was like good soreness. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
This might even be, and I'm like, this is better than the good morning. So that's kind of how that started. So that was kind of taking one of those situations. But a lot of other things would happen where, especially with good mornings, is I wasn't really good at them, is people learn how to cheat them. That's where I had my biggest problem, is because how do you cheat a max effort exercise? And it would piss me off when I would get beat by people who squatted way less. So if my squat was 920 and somebody that squatted 700 did this shitty, terrible looking good morning, that was like a half squat bullshit thing with 495 for 5. And I'm doing them right with like 405, 455 for 3. And they're like, I beat you. And I'm like, you little fucker. You know, and that actually, these stories, that actually led into a conversation with one guy, because there was a group of us doing this. And this stuff like this used to really make me fucking mad, because it's a competitive thing. And this is bullshit, because there ain't no way you're stronger than me and you can't run your mouth. I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
So I'm mad, and I just turn my back and start walking away so the next person could go. And I said, somebody should kill this motherfucker. And just being me, just walking away.
Yeah.
And now he's dead.
No.
No.
But that Wednesday, one of the guys that we train with came in and apologized to me, because he said, look, I followed Bill. I'm going to change. I followed Bill home, right? And I went up to his apartment, and his goal was he was going to take him out. So I was going to kill him. And he says, but when I got there, this is true. This is true. Ask Louis sometime off record. He may even tell you on record. He says, I walk in his apartment, and there's all kinds of pictures from Powerlifting USA hanging up all over the wall. He says, I couldn't shoot him there because the blood splatter, it would be too much to clean up. So I'm thinking to myself, like, the pictures on the wall, wouldn't that help? Because you would just take the pictures down.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is going to be too much. And he says, then, you know, I forget whatever the reason. Then somehow he said that he was going to whack him in the head.
This is some of the craziest shit I've ever
No, he was going to whack him in the head and then roll him up in the carpet and put him in his truck and take him out to the country like he did his dog. Right? And I'm like, I don't even want to know. I'm being told this in the gym, and this is like a legit thing. And I'm like, is Bill okay? Because now I'm worried about Bill. Like, what did you do? Like, did you kick his ass? Did you beat him up? And I don't even understand what's going on. And he's like, well, you told me, you said somebody ought to kill him. And I'm like,
is this the Godfather?
When you know, I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I did not say this. Right? And so now it's all on me. So then Louis comes in. And he's like, Dave, why did you tell X to kill Bill? I'm like, I did not tell X to kill Bill. And so I'm laying the whole situation out. And I'm like, Louis, you need to take care of this. You know, and we're like putting it back and forth. Yeah, I made it completely Louis' problem. I'm like, this guy's out of his fucking mind, and we can't have him kill. You know, this is legit. This is not bullshit. I'm like, this was a serious So Louis takes him out to lunch, right? First I explained.
Was it Bob Evans?
Yeah, it was TJ's.
Oh, okay.
And so first I'm trying to explain to this dude, we don't kill our training partners. That's probably not a good idea. Like, it's totally not a good idea.
Rule number one.
You're going to clip this one.
And second, when I say under my own voice is what I'm saying under my own voice. We're in a gym. Like, this is not like a literal type thing. And this is all from a fucking good morning, right? So you got a good morning, right? So you got a good morning squat, which creates a new exercise, then another good morning, which creates almost death. And so Louis ends up taking him out and having this conversation with him and all this other stuff.
Now when you say taking him out, now I'm worried.
Yeah.
Well, no, taking him out
Literally
taking
him out.
I mean, this is a guy that powerlifting is his life. He moved to Columbus for this, and, you know, he'd do whatever. And it's just a scary ass fucking thing. And then Louis goes to GNC. And then I think asked whoever was there, what supplements can you give somebody that's mentally batshit crazy to be able to control these aggressive tendencies? And it gives him a bag of, and that's how Louis' solution was to give him this big bag of supplements and say, you know, take these things. And then that's that. I mean, I got so many stories on this one dude, but
yeah, we're gonna need another one.
No, okay, I'll give you a real quick one. This is the guy that if you went to a restaurant, so we're all sitting at a restaurant, so you got some steak left, you order too much steak, and you're like, would you like the rest of my steak? You know, or would you like the rest of my steak?
I can't imagine any powerlifters sitting around a restaurant together offering the rest of their meal to another one.
It happens. I mean, it happens. So Louis like, you know, would you like the rest of the steak? He's like, yeah, sure. So he puts it on his fork. And he's going to go over and put it on his plate. And this is a nice, like, a high-ender for a powerlifter, a high-end restaurant. So he goes like this, and this dude reaches out and grabs it and pulls it off of the fork and then puts it on his plate. This is this guy's basic.
As a barbarian.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So if you're in the restaurant, he'd be sitting here, say the waitress is over there, he'd just scream, "Hey, lady!"
Oh,
and you're like, dude, would you just
geez.
shut up?
Hate
You know. And yeah, this is couple Westside Stories.
I'm sure you learned your lesson that people will take things very literally now.
Yeah.
from
Well,
what you
yeah. I
say.
mean, well, I didn't change anything, but that was kind of like I've never seen anything that wacko in my entire life
That's
because I thought he was
that's
messing
crazy.
with me. Then when I found out it was for real, because there were a couple people that were in there.
Yeah.
That some of the guys, not me, and this is for real, not me. Some of the guys I thought were pushing some of the people a little too hard.
Yeah.
You know, mentally, just push because we push people mentally really hard.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to make it. In a way, you're trying to make it so if they go to a meet, whatever situation they run into, nothing should ever shock them.
Right.
But there's also a line that when you cross, it's just verbal harassment.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying I was seeing verbal harassment in Westside Barbell, you know, it's a pretty high. I mean, most people that would just walk into any gym would say there's verbal. This was like pretty bad.
Yeah.
So there were a couple people I'm like, man, we need to watch it with this guy because if he breaks.
Yeah.
And not this one I'm talking about, some of the other ones. If they break, it's a machine gun and we're all fucking gone.
Right.
Because they're just going to, you cannot just keep pushing people this hard over and over and over. There were some like that
Wow.
we had conversation with some of the other guys like, look, man, this is.
That's the one you always say good morning to. Good morning.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's this, at
they're in my
this point,
team.
at this point, this is not productive in any way whatsoever. And if it goes the other way, you're risking me getting shot with a stray bullet. So
is Bill alive?
Bill's live.
Okay.
It's crazy because this dude, he was an okay power lifter. He didn't have the genetics to be great, but
He wasn't a great murderer either.
No, but I mean, he did push his ability to the absolute threshold of what he was capable of, and probably a little more. And he was one of these guys that's 100% for life. You know,
Yeah.
like Westside for life, tattoos, all the other kind of shit. Then he just fucking disappears. Completely disappears. And we're like, well, where it is? You know, where's Bill? Where'd Bill go? Where's Bill? Nobody knows where the hell Bill went. And so now we're a little concerned. So Louis calling hospitals and all this other. He just disappeared.
Yeah.
He ended up working in a riverboat casino someplace and just decided he was done. Never
Yeah.
told anybody and just left. So it makes sense, you know,
Yeah.
now, but.
So
Yeah.
your Elite FTS motto is live, learn, pass on, right? It's not live, learn, pass away.
No.
Live, learn, riverboat.
And the funny thing is, anybody that was there at that time that trained with us knows exactly everybody I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because it was that fucking crazy.
That's wild.
And there's things way worse than that, but that's a good one.
Jesus.
I don't even know how to go on from that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. Like, and that's just shit that cannot happen today, even in the slightest.
No.
No, the whole murder thing is still bad.
No, it's happening today. It is. I guarantee it is. It's just you just don't hear.
I'm just
about
not on that. I don't want to go on that
No,
riverboat casino.
no. I mean, there's still a bunch of real, just old, grimy ass ghetto gyms, but
I'm gonna guess that there was
Not
actually
powerlifting.
there was actually talent and knowledge in Westside.
yes,
You know what I mean?
It's different.
So you might have some bad gyms now, but it's like, where's the
Yeah.
talent and the knowledge? It's
Right.
just a hellhole.
We
It's
see
just
what-
all
Bad
it is.
place.
Yeah, it's just a bad place.
Yeah,
Really,
that's what I'm
man.
saying. It's just there's a lot of places that are just bad places where we had a big mix.
Yeah.
You know, so there were people in there that were professors at Ohio State. So you got that, then you got this, then you got actual criminals, and then Louis had to figure out how to make everybody work together and do that in 400 square foot, you know, with a lot of egos, you know, and not only make them, you know, I left that with the responsibility of my biggest job was to make those around me better, because if I did that, then they made me better. If I didn't do that, then I wouldn't get better, and I wouldn't be able to become the best I could possibly be, because then it would just be me with me. And I did that before. You know, and I could only get so far. I needed them to be able to help me get better. So that's kind of how that worked. And I don't know how it is now. I don't know how it's been since I left there, you know, but that was the mechanism behind all that. So it didn't matter who you are, what you did, where you came from. If that didn't fit in the wheel, you were gone. That was the most important thing.
So would you say that was the only real screening process for new members of Westside during that time? Or was it
No.
all? No?
No,
Was
I
there
mean, they
more?
had to have talent. They had to have, well, talent to a degree. They had to have balls. I mean, they had to be able to have the balls to be able to train there. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, if anybody got kicked out, it was for that. They're just not mentally able to deal with it. So they're either going to leave or they're going to get thrown out because they pull everybody else down. We are trying to do things that other people don't want to do. Right now, it's a different balance of life. So I don't want to. I can go on forever. But it is. I don't want to try to have people aspire to that because it's a different balance of life. It's completely different. It's not hardcore. It's not. So it's just. You know what I'm saying? People take things the wrong way, to where it is aspirational if that's all you want to. If that's what you want to do. But you got to be willing to have all those. We talked about this in one of the last podcasts. You got to be willing to live in the circumstances that's going to create, and you need to have the people around you understand they're going to be sacrificing a lot for you to be able to do that. If you're not willing to have that, then don't get environments like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, Bill.
Kill Bill.
Boy.
Well, actually, yeah.
Bill killed.
Bill killed. Yeah.
How you guys feeling? You getting sore yet? You getting tight?
I can feel it creeping up a little bit, but it's like a good, like we pushed perfect for, I think, what I'm feeling.
You said after a hard leg workout, it's pretty hard when you sit down, but we did do a hard leg workout here with John Meadows a couple years ago, and we had to do an 8-hour drive right after that. So
that was the Pitch Shark one?
An hour, 2 hour podcast. I can manage that. I've been through worse, you know.
You're
what
doing
I mean?
pretty good.
Now, you guys done a lot of collaborations, right? So you've been to a lot of different gyms too, right?
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of different training environments with intermediate type lifters. Where do you see them making not social media wise, but just training wise? Where do you see them making the biggest mistakes? Because you're seeing more of them than I am by far.
Yeah. Mistakes in terms of what?
Training.
So
mistakes. let's just keep nutrition away. So let's just training. Like how are they training? Are they trying to emulate too many people instead? Whatever you see as commonalities.
That's a good question. Honestly, I just don't think they do enough.
Volume
volume
or like intensity.
Yeah.
It's those damn birds.
No, I thought
lightning strike.
Yeah.
Did I say something wrong?
Bill,
People just aren't doing enough work.
Bill's around the compound.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I would say most people that I've collabed with, I just feel like, wait, that's it? We're done?
No.
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I'm like,
that's what I mean.
The lightning strike.
That's what I mean for the workout. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing too much, but maybe I'm doing too much. I don't know for what my body's recovery capacity is, but I'm very, very focused on that, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I recover from the workout. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I just did what they did, I'd be like, that feels like, that's it? You didn't do any accessory work. What's going on here? You know what I mean? It's like, this is not an Instagram workout, guys. Like, you can get the clip, but you got to do the workout.
So just like if it's a power lift or just the main lift and then pretty much shutting it down and they're done.
Yeah. Well, why? I don't know. That's what I notice a lot of. What about you, Joey?
There's a couple things I see. I think one of them is there's this huge evidence-based movement going on that maybe you guys know about. And I think with that, like, research is great, right? And it's awesome to look at where the research is and evidence is on things. But I think some people get too into it and they forget the philosophy of just training hard, and it's like they want to get so into the fine details of everything without just remembering like the base of hard ass work. And I guess the second point would just be there's so much stuff that you can consume right now, and it's such a saturated market that you don't want to forget about the basics. Like, it's going to take time, and everybody wants it to happen so fast, and they get bummed out after a couple months and things don't go as planned. But this shit's going to take years and years and years, right? And I think it's just having that long-term approach, and that's something I kind of try to always instill with like the athletes I coach or people at the gym, is just like, it's just like anything else in life. You set the goal, okay, you have the roadmap, and then if there's a bump along, then we just have to adapt and adjust and keep moving forward. We don't want to just cave or hop to the next program or see what is so-and-so doing on Instagram. Oh, that must be it. Or this person has a PhD and they're putting out this research that says that. And they forget about just like putting in the time, and
consistency.
It's going to take time. So I see that often with intermediate lifters who I think could be advanced, but they kind of hold themselves back by just not realizing it's going to take a lot of time, and they want to get too fancy with things, or they want to implement all these different variables to their training when they don't have the base structure really nailed down. And also maybe just looking at things from a holistic approach too. Like, weight training is one part of that pie, but there's things like nutrition, right? Stress management. There are other variables that people maybe neglect too often that they could focus on more that will kind of help their progress. So it's like, we know that guy who kills it in the gym, but he eats like crap, or, you know, he's just destroying it, but his like stress is just so bad, his sleep is so terrible, and these are things that could hold him back from potentially being a really good athlete. So I try to look at things from a different approach too. Like, if this person's training really hard, but they're not getting the results, well, is it the programming? Maybe not. There are other aspects that we can look at that can maybe influence them. So that's just kind of like intermediate to advanced, I would say, some things I think about as a coach.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw some of, not mistakes or whatnot over the weekend, but we saw some intermediate lifters and more advanced lifters who gained a tremendous amount of strength and PR'd just based on technique alone.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people don't take the time, and that's something that I applaud Dave for really being able to break these movements down into their very technical pieces for them to focus in on and be able to understand where they're lacking in their training or where they're lacking in their technique, and to be able to work on it and immediately see a benefit from it, right? That technical knowledge, that technical work. And I mean, we had a lifter who is fortunately going to be able to have a nice block of technical training due to a lack of gym access and a lack of equipment. So now she can work on her technique. And that was her biggest, I guess, hurdle that she had, was her technique.
This is going to sound political, but it's not. So just follow me for a minute.
I'm watching the chat right now.
Well, I mean, for those listening and so forth, just think back, and you remember when everything started to lock down, you know, so the Trump's having his little conferences and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, so we're talking about time, you know, how things take time.
Yeah.
You realize that was 18 months ago. Time goes faster than people think it does, right? So they don't want to put in the work, but they don't also realize how fast it really goes. 3 years is not a long time when you're training. Right. So when you think back, like if you put things out that people can remember and you say that, you're like, oh my God, that was 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Right? It really wasn't. Or you can use last Christmas or something. I always use different examples like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, well, that 3 years that you thought was a super long time, 3 years ago wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Time's pretty interesting in terms of like, well, something I kind of want to also mention is what you do is very important, because you have some of the most, like, that set looks really scary. You know what I mean? Like the intensity that you put into your sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of the clips that exist of you on the internet. Like there's some of the most iconic, like hardworking, you know, most output in this. But that's important. Like, for example, all right. This guy and this guy and this guy, they're all going to do leg press, right? You know, they're all going to do 3 sets. But, you know, how much extra time does it take for you to take that third set to that other level? You know what I mean? Like, it takes you, an extra 25 to 45 seconds. When I'm working out, a lot of times I'll think of that, like, do I really want to do a whole hour and a half, 2-hour workout when this moment on this set and maybe this other set takes an extra 25 seconds to push through, and that's what's going to really make that time count. You know, everything else up to that point was just preparing me for that moment. Everyone has 25 or 45 frickin' seconds. You know what I mean? It's just, but you have to have the knowledge to know that you've been exposed to that. You've seen it online. Like, I've seen someone do that. Now I want to try to push that level. And I know you guys have been putting a million disclaimers here about, you know, this takes years to work up to, but then make that the goal. You know, don't make it the goal to focus on the weight.
No, I like that. You got a good point there. Make it count. You know?
Make that.
Yeah, wherever you're at, make it count.
Yeah, exactly. You have that moment right there.
Yeah, the biggest thing that hit me when I first started training with John was this whole comprehension of his work sets, right? So, I mean, I powerlifting strength background. If you're doing a set of 5, you just worked up, did the heavy set of 5. And even with bodybuilding, if you're working up, you're doing 8, you're going to progressively work up, do one heavy set of 8.
Yeah.
It's like working up, and then we do the one heavy set of 8, then there's 4 more sets of the same weight of 8s. And I'm like, well, what the hell? I thought we already did this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to go on to the next thing. It's like, no, we only did 1 set.
Yeah.
There's the one. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, and that's kind of what you're talking about, is what is, you know, the training that you're doing. You know, if it's hypertrophy based, or how many work sets do you really have? You know, there may only be there's if we were to break down the training, I don't want to do it now, of what you guys did today, there's the total number of sets. Might have been like 26, 30.
Right.
Then there's the total work sets,
Right.
the real work sets. Might only be 5 or 6.
Right.
I wonder how many people even have 5 or 6.
Right.
And
Well,
that's what I think you're talking about.
Well, like we
Yeah.
had said too, after that workout, you had my brain going like crazy because
Yeah.
you know I thought, okay, this is our one set rev, and you're like, we got 5 more, and you're like, what? And then we do 5 more, and then you sit there and you're like, man, what have I been doing? Have I been pushing hard enough? You know?
Well, it can be phasic too. You got I don't want people
Yeah,
to
yeah, no.
misplace that. It has to be phasic. You can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it has to kind of go through
Yeah,
phases and
yeah.
waves.
All right, I think we're touching on the last few minutes.
Okay.
Let's, Juji, Joey, you have the floor. Any last words?
I don't.
Yeah. Fantastic.
We were all talking about this at the end of the YouTube videos we were filming. We all suck at closing videos, you know. That's my least favorite part about a video is ending one. So I'm going to say that my least favorite part about being on a podcast is watching
Closing
it
the
end.
podcast. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love being on it. I
Yeah,
love having these
yeah,
conversations. I love the community. I just love everything about all this stuff. That's why I'm sitting here smelling my own stench for the past hour and a half.
Don't worry, I'm smelling it
Yeah.
too.
You smell me too?
I do. It's
We all
It's-
smell.
pretty good.
Pheromones.
Very strong, yes.
Joey, what do you got?
Just super grateful to be here and everything that this place is about. You know, I got to experience it firsthand. So you guys live up to everything with all the content, the mottos, the phrases, all that stuff. So just an awesome, experience for me. So thank you guys so much for both having me on here. I look forward to hopefully coming back in the future. But guys, if you're watching this, as someone who's been around for a long time, in one session I learned so much, and these guys are the real deal. So keep on watching their content and make sure you guys are subscribed and enjoying everything they're putting out.
Good. Get them a job. All right, guys. Thank you very much for checking this out. We will make sure you share this, rate us 5 stars, subscribe, share it to everybody you love, share it to everybody you hate, whatever you want to do. Thank you very much for checking this out, and we will see you in the next one.